She helped wash dishes and helped with the little girls and did cleaning and did whatever was needed. And she graduated from Visitation. No, she didn't. She married a sailor. Here's a good looking one too.
She said no, she married a sailor.
And that's the one I emailed just before I came here. I'm going to Visitation. And then the two of us went to CLU together, and we both took medical technology. But at that time, I had side of my face was paralyzed, and I had to use my eye a lot, for being med tech. So I decided, well, I'll go into education. So I went into education instead. Any other questions? Yes.
Where did you go for Sunday Mass?
We had Mass right there. The Jesuits would come out and they would say Mass for the sisters. And
You got a chapel?
a beautiful chapel on the second floor. As you entered the large doors, there was a stairway to the side and went upstairs. And it was, the sisters would be behind a grill. It was cloistered. And then anyone who wanted to come to Mass, I remember Mrs. Fairhurst. Mrs. Fairhurst, maybe some of you know her. They lived on American Lake, and her son was a Jesuit. And I forget how he died.
He died practically a saint, I think.
Yeah, there was that little book that they wrote, A Short Flight to Heaven. And it was his life. I can't remember how he died, though.
He had some illness. You remember about him at Stanford? Was his brother? But I remember that he was in a lot of pain, and it gave the general impression that he was very, very holy, and what the Fairhurst family did. But I came out.
Is it Fairhurst or Fairfield? They owned a furniture company down in...
Yeah, they were well-to-do.
Yeah.
But I came here the first time to the Mass. My folks lived out further out from American Lake, and they used to come to Mass here. And I think I was about 1 year old when I first, or I was younger than that, a baby. But they brought me into the chapel, and how the sisters just loved little babies, and Mom said they'd hand me around, and Sister Margaret Mary was there, and it was a big mess. Well, then when I started school, they said, "Oh my gosh, are you the baby?" We thought it'd be better than that. No, they were just. Mom said they were so happy to play with the little baby, and just wonderful people, just wonderful. All of them were.
About the chapel, I remember we used to,
Can you hear over there?
want to take turns.
Stand up, Doris.
We wanted to pump the organ, remember?
Oh yeah.
Yes, they didn't have an electric organ, they had to pump it. And it was a privilege to be able to pump that thing, but Sister Loretta didn't let everybody do it. But she would ask you to pump the organ when we had songs. I remember when we went to confession on First Fridays all the time. There was this little girl, and she had gone into the confessional, and there was this little bench that you knelt on. And she was on the edge of it, and not quite in the center, and she flipped over backwards and flew out of the confessional. And we said, "Oh, Father threw you out of the confessional, huh?" And we laughed. We just laughed all the time during while we were waiting to go to confession. And then 2 months later, I went into confession, and that little stool was too close to the wall, and I knelt down, and I got right on the tip of it and flew out myself. And I thought, oh, it serves me right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I have a story.
Yes.
I'm George Crombie. Toward the end, I guess it would be the end. In fact, I have a distinction of possibly being one of the only boys to ever go to school there. My sister, Beverly, was going to Clover Park High. And this would be about 1954. And she went to Visitation Villa and explained that she didn't have catechism. And of course, when the sisters heard that, they immediately grabbed her and took her in and taught her catechism. I had been going to Navy base, being younger, and they just built the Hudloff Junior High, which of course later became Clover Park North. But at any rate, 7th grade, and because I was riding the same bus as my sister, because we came from the same place and ended up at Clover Park. Anyhow, she was going down there, so I decided a couple times I'd just walk along with her and wait with her. Well, the sisters, of course, welcomed me in, and being a cute little boy, they put me in the library and brought me milk and cookies. Well, you know, that was great attention, and milk and cookies. And so, of course, I started going there quite frequently while they taught my sister catechism. Somewhere in there, my sister ratted on me and explained that I had not had catechism. And suddenly the dish of cookies disappeared and a rather large book appeared. And I also had catechism. And I believe Father Squire was doing the masses for them at that time in the chapel, and my sister and I both had our first communion in the chapel in the Visitation Building. And then, of course, we had a little party out by that grotto thing, the garden there. That was certainly pretty. Anyway, so although my curriculum was rather limited to just catechism, I actually can say I attended school. Probably the only boy to do so.
After Mass in the morning, Father would come at 6 and say Mass, and then after he said Mass, he would go down and the sisters would serve him breakfast. And he always had scrambled eggs and 3 slices of bacon and toast and juice. Well, what happened is every morning he would not eat his bacon, but Jackie and I would go and pick up his dishes and take them back to the kitchen to be washed. But he never ate his bacon. Every single morning he'd have bacon. And then finally one morning, Sister said, would you like something else? And change to ham or something? And Father says, yes, I don't eat bacon. We ate the bacon. We just love to take those dishes to the kitchen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There won't be any more program, but there's a lot of pictures to look at. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I forgot to mention my sister was taught by Sister Regina.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we are overwhelmed here at St. Francis Cabrini by all of the people that showed up for this. We only set up 50 chairs, and I think we brought in another 25 at least. So thank you for coming out on this terribly blizzard night. I think we're going to get a big windstorm later, so hopefully you'll get out of here before then. But I need to tell you the interest. My office was getting many phone calls in regards to this talk that the association was putting on in regards to Visitation Villa, and it led me to think that there certainly is an awful lot of people that are associated with Visitation Villa, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of trivia things. Remember, those of you who attended, the beautiful stained glass window that was in the second story in the chapel of the Visitation sister going to meet, I think, her, what's the picture? Who remembers the
It's St. Francis de Sales accepting her.
Okay, and that picture, who knows where that picture is today? Does anybody know? Helen?
It's in the cemetery, Calvary Cemetery.
Calvary Cemetery in Tacoma. If anybody is interested in going over to the chapel over there, you can see one of the beautiful stained glass windows from the Visitation Villa. And also, we like to thank the Chamber of Commerce. No, actually, it wasn't the Chamber, it's the Lakewood Mall Association for these beautiful pictures. Many of you were speaking. In fact, I think Ms. Woolery was speaking of the many lakes. There's beautiful pictures up here. There's even a picture of the original cottage, the Richardson estate, before the Visitation Villa Sisters built. The wonderful Visitation Villa welcome sign. Many of you remember that, I'm sure. And Sister Consolata, right down here, visited the association before, and the wonderful picture that you see over to the left, that's from the St. Francis Cabrini archives. When Father Squire passed away, his sister gave that to the school and the parish, and that wonderful little building that you see there is where Father Squire lived when he first came to Lakewood in 1952. And the Visitation Sisters were good enough to let him stay, and they prepared his meals, and he said Mass for them. There's also a picture on the far right of the actual Visitation Villa, the way it looked before all of the wonderful progress that we see today. The trees around, the surrounding, you can see the Columbian Center, Knights of Columbus Hall off to the right. And as you're looking at the building, on the far left is where the chapel would have been on the second story. And reading over in one of the sisters' memories, if you were looking out that window, because the sisters were there when they were building the Villa Plaza, if you were looking out the window, you would see where Rhodes was, or actually I think it's Burlington Coat today. So that's how far back the actual facility sat on that building. The picture to my right with all the people in it is the first picture taken of when St. Francis Cabrini was started, but it is in the Knights of Columbus Hall, the Columbian Center today. That is the building that all of those people are sitting in.
That was the old gym.
That's the old gym, exactly. And it's still wonderfully preserved, and there's still people that are utilizing that facility. So
I believe the original entrance, the curved road that goes into the Lakewood Mall now on the Park Lodge Inn, that curved road is basically the original driveway.
and you can see that, if you come up to the picture, you can see that. Just where the road came off to the left there and down in right to the main part of the
All
building.
the other entrances are straight in, but that one is a curved road, and I believe it was some kind of thing that they maintained from the old Visitation.
And one other thing that I need to mention is Mr. Lester is here, and Mr. Lester is the proud owner of the beautiful Madonna that was in the grotto that so many of you, Mary Brennan, I know, was one of the people that did the May crowning one year. And Mr. Lester, would you raise your hand? He has that in his backyard over by St. Charles Borromeo. So that is still there. I don't believe anyone knows what happened to the grotto part, but the Blessed Mother is in good hands.
With two miracles that happened at her feet.
Pardon me?
Two miracles that happened at her feet.
Well, we need to hear those. Could you tell us those? Two miracles at the feet of the Blessed Mother. We'd love to hear that.
I didn't come here to say,
Well, the Holy Spirit let you.
all I did to come here tonight is my wife was a graduate of Visitation 1941. She, by the way, was a May Queen that you remember, Mary. And when the sisters moved out to Lakota, after they left Visitationville and moved out there to Lakota, why, they took a statue with them. And their handyman built a little grotto for her, and it was in their courtyard. And finally, when they closed Lakota, sold it, and moved back east, the mother, her wife, they knew that my wife was very devoted to Mother Mary, as I am. And as a consequence, they gave the statue to my wife. So we placed it there. It's right now today in the grotto in my backyard. 2 days before my